possibilities. Coastaltv, a world of endless possibilities.
Wala amatula intala obarkatum adishimamba mama humachi mama humakwaba the Coastal television do they get near 514 and yefida taswazi yame wa ne pede na dom ye do busumi yakwewe yo busumi ye da kwewe yo October 2025 October 2025 and oyewe yukra and oyewe yukra na enda no pay ewusia oya busum na wie yade no kire something go happen something go happen nye bibi besi na se bibi besi so a enda ka busum na wie yi enda so ye depend na wie yi na eje se mo bi de sende maybe one in one la tell busum we or weekend 1st November on our friend All Saint 1st November our friend All Saint it's at the pace but I mean another one ma watch ma washing do or don't corner hodina mahina it was not the pace center focus you will be yademo you will be actually you will be yesia now the pay center focus Coastal television they get no or 514 channel 54 you go TV do ntibutuma scan na search channel 22 you ada digital box bi aso aka ibi wo ho a echi if you know that na ye ko Facebook or live YouTube so or live na mohian de bebia bo hwe na afibia no ahomotrofo na o scroll wo screen no do no botuma afre na nkomotwetwe biara anopa bia ye bedi no ede wa na atumi bi do ye de oboka te ne mode do ye wala wo hawo bia wo no wo fie ana wo no wo bronom ana wo no wo community ana wo no wo abato mposho no ana so mpo wo district one how na tetin bo madina frɛ anopa bia frɛ do botom anopa bia 7 to 8 center focus anopa bia center focus 7 to 8 bo madina frɛ no wo ho no wa tetin na won fabla wonu bi di ne birthday fabla nyu bi na ho ma hyehyo operation cry fabla tetere we fabla center focus or a central focus na no pay sa hodina kasa na aseda wo mu no yedema oye finger linking fast food and catering services tanu pay aseda no wo ma ahodina yebode ya yedini ma aseda no yedema ma finger linking fast food and catering services aseda ni bio ebusua yencheche mfa ma NPA National Petroleum Authority also use gas aseden bi so wa e de ma diesel gift shop na da aseden bi ya de ba man also twade na charge na wa so enyaade ebusia aseden bi so ya de ba ma oya king of the universe also we ya king corn wa building materials king of the universe we king corn wa building materials ebusia gi ba ku wa da wo ma na ne pe ahode na yekase na ye the center focus ye dibra honi and the Friday na in that Friday the ebusia bobo ya homaden foforo bi owo bia emo won saka echi ye wi a from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday baba cancel so that pay wo and Saturday we work at na so that pay do it's another full part into the gym you put cry meaning you cry from now to 8 o'clock ebusia ya body papa nti say ehwe ade no ntum TV na kwadwuma amesre wa ko Facebook na ko hwe live wo nti etikare mi na rehwe ko Facebook mesre wa ko Facebook ko hwe no wo live wo ja dem ro be ya wa so wonu me didumbo se ba ne fedwuma be so amesre wa bo modin ya da gere na mbere transi na center focus me wo bia ne fa mo fefe na ma na ebusuan da anapai nkoma yibidi anapai nkoma yibidi special prosecutor why Sancho fish mondo wabugbedin wabugbedin nkwafa onu wikini asem bia no wabo hunkwelu special prosecutor mena na iba catch special Coastaltv the special Coastaltv wabugbedin ebushemu kwa kwhye nan yede na pamasi bi de sisi kakakra ejina wabugba no honyina na wa Ghana ha anawunya ha ebukwa kwhye yede na monkomo no ebushe ye wia yawo jina bi okukra bi ni wa wati yene mpayifo bi mi jina na yebete wonkomo ebushia ni kurowa nyame wadu woni de hyefi mu no ahwa na wachi won hen ahwa na wachi won hen baafo yenye mpayifo bi wo gwe ha na wona dwuma woye anampo bi mu ofifi manto ba ha wona dwuma woye wona braba wo gbo no sincerely wati mpani jina bi wo da mo hon yebe kakra ya hwe ye wia oye energy commission wodin semi atugba no wo chireme de ahia na ya hu second hand goods na wa band dem mfamba no onu nkrihen Sunday light bill prepaid that you to ntanya ofi dem second hand goods no ye bedi dem nkwamo no enda so de obaka na aba ye baba abem nti ebuhye koma ye bedin nti setetefo no twegu wo TV ni screen da botum afre na kire wadwum e fre du botum kama bibia de na akoma frala ye du botum na anepei eba from kitikeku Asorba Kofi Essuman nkoma ye bedin na yeshase emu mansa no mamfa oye Ghana Meteorological Agency na mamfa won weather report mo fanto yi mansa na pay bebe buko bia la ko sa na wi no bo bia ma obaye no wa ma ya tase de ewie bobo papa ewie no bobo na mom ya ba mpano ya ne pay di mi de bebi mpano bebi wo ho a nsu no ogugu dama de foye atoye mantom ane page ehode minde ehon nsun orugugu pa na fita ne pia kisi oye enwa build ko imbi kwano nsun oroto oboto wo ye atoye mantom meche western region nti ye sha so pa na ye hwema ye bibiala under the na kwemu ho nti nwa na western region na ne pay memni we experience weather no yum na ye kukuku nsun ogugu ho demom enyanum a ebusafo a ye wo oye fiti atoye mantoma dikesi oye nkramantom no adepei ye no wada no ye fi oye apam janhire ko kasoa do kwankran no ye hu da wada no ma wewewe demom fi da membri ya dikesi nyabredi ewie no bobo pa ewie no bobo na no be ye dzen onum nsun ne ba se be hotel no nti yenhye ne so papa ewie abobo eti se dem no tinda no yen temperature yen temperature se siare ye wumi fitanepe dikisi oye enwabre no ma wumi yen na ye wo coastal belt me che won mpano afam no yen temperature obey 24 degrees Celsius 24 degrees Celsius na maximum wa kwosoro pa no obey 32 degrees Celsius na te wie no obobo papa wie na be yet nti yen hye no nso wo ho damara na yen na wo kwam nso yen temperature no obey 22 degrees Celsius wa kwosoro no obey 33 degrees Celsius yen hye no nso yen na ye wo oye etifid mantom no ono da manyanyim no ewie no obobo pa ehwe ewie no obobo pa nti ewie no nanu wa kofom kra no obey 22 degrees Celsius damara na okoso da obey 37 degrees Celsius nti yen hye no nso na yema enuanom a wo etifid mantom no so yen kan kire ho na wonda wonwodo wo ko bebi a na wa hwe dam na oma igyahyeso otum na oba ho no nti yen hye no nso nti busia Ghana Meteorological Agency wono komobo na na pay ye desi no nti yen de yenwodo ama obo hembo a onto hen eti yefi ono no di ebusia mamfa aye happy birthday sonko medical na ka che de se wodofu bid na woda ana odin wo ebusuma ye wumi from 1st October to 31st year ebusia butubade no WhatsApp na ba no text message na ba ana so ni videos na ba wo 0500 123456 0500 123456 for WhatsApp no bra na intwedu ntu bebi o Facebook so a butum edene mfanyin na onye nitinda ba bebi o yedwuma bia fabla ibutwa na atum kra center focus na pe bia Monday to Friday center focus 7 to 8 nti unyipa bi na woda fabra ibutwa na atum kama dama bebi o bia and pay happy birthday sonko onkoma oye hinankasa hinachireba oji oye overall best student wa physical training advanced course wa oye 49 and first female to receive this eti ebusia hinachireba already ne awoda soyeyi nyame onkano omma na hoden omma ne nyencha omma adwumbu omwe na adwunum na edwum na ore ye no ohun sentira ore ye dam edwuma no papa na ewurabe oye ewuraba Eden Isel Stephanie Eden Isel mami adepe nyame nka ho na wo title order wodo wo se oye L dash me hu ba fachap CPL enye se lieutenant se abadoni nala mami so nyi wa woda ye da wase papa yamo tiru kwa yamo awoda pa nti happy birthday sonko onkoma na cheba Stephanie oye Aidan Isel Stephanie Aidan Isel bebe wo bia no yamo awoda pa na etiru kwa ebusia yanchiado na anepe energy commission na mom my enkwhwe special prosecutor ura kisi ejaben se onam no no oma wa masisiale oya honorable kanofurata wegwan onam no na nkwafuru kada honorable kwese ejaben lawyer special prosecutor onu no ama oya dofinsiem na honorable kwese ejaben na asema atugwa ewusia nsama do tugwa wa BDP ma yenkwhwe yintebi yaba yedi nkomo emom ahomatrofori yaba bugbe atum prakope nti nsama kan teji na bugbe no hwere pa na yaba yedi nkomo yenkwhwe mra
and promotion based on false and unverified claims. 2. The SML contracts were attended by egregious statutory breaches as mandatory prior approvals were wantonly disregarded by relevant officials who acted with increased and emboldened impunity. 3. There was no established financial management system of monitoring and verification to ensure that the Republic was obtaining the value for the money it was paying to SML, and that the payment channels to SML were set on automatic mode, detached from actual performance, causing financial loss to the public. Members of the press, investigation outcomes are based on the following events and analysis. The genesis. On 27 January 2017, Kenneth Nanaya Oforiatta assumed office as the Minister of Finance of Ghana. He would serve in this position till 14 February 2024. Barely 3 weeks after Mr. Oforiatta's assumption of office, SMEL was incorporated, that is Strategic Monitoring, provide me with the full name, Strategic Mobilization Entrepreneurship Limited. That was how it was incorporated first, SMEL, on 14 February 2017 by a timber merchant, Evans Edusei, with the company's stated principal activities as general trading and services and import and export of general goods. A little over 4 months after its incorporation, this company that had stated its services as trading services and import and export of general goods was presented to the PPA by the Commissioner General of the GRA, Emmanuel Kofinti, seeking approval to sole source SMEL as a service provider for enhanced classification, valuation, and risk management platform in the customs setup. These events, the assumption of office by Mr. Oforiatta, the incorporation of SMEL by Mr. Edusei, and the application for sole sourcing of SMEL by seemed unrelated at first glance. However, a closer look at subsequent events from June 2017 to 14 February 2024, when Mr. Oforiatta's tenure ended, show a tightly knit and non-coincidental association of the prior identified events as the precursors of a masterful and mischievously crafted scheme designed by Mr. Oforiatta immediately upon assumption of office and throughout his tenure as the chief promoter, patron, and sponsor of the company, and the previously unseen power that unlawfully force-fed the company into the revenue assurance drive of GRA through a series of reckless decision-making and management and flagrant violation of statute through the use of public office for profit, contrary to Section 179C of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, and by directly and indirectly influencing the procurement process to obtain an unfair advantage in the award of procurement contracts to the company, contrary to Section 92(2)(b of the Public Procurement Act 2003, Act 663, with the pliant and avaricious and questioning compliance of 2 successive GRA Commissioner Generals, who he kept at a slavish subservience, leading to colossal financial loss to the Republic. By December 2024, SML had been paid a total amount of 1,436,249,828 cedis, 53 pesos. The OSP investigation also showed that the company was incorporated for the sole purpose of employing it as a vehicle to ride on official patronage and sponsorship, erected on false and contrived acclaim and attributes for the award of public procurement contracts in the revenue assurance setup. The SMEL period. First application by GRA to PPA. By a letter dated 16 June 2017, Mr. Inti, then as Acting Commissioner General of GRA, requested PPA for approval to engage SMEL through single source procurement under Section 40A and B of the Public Procurement Act for enhanced classification, valuation, and risk management in the context of the payment of duties and levies on imported goods. The request stated that there were incidents of same goods given different classification and duties, which were giving rise to challenges and undue delays at the ports of clearance, and that SMEL would address these challenges faced by GRA to allow for full, smoother, and better services in the customs processes and procedures. The request touted SMEL as having particular interest in providing effective and measurable solutions for the enhancement of government revenue, and that SMEL also enjoyed financial and technological backing from its investors, one of which was Cotecna SA, described as a multinational company well versed in the business of inspection, testing, certification, and the provision of tailor-made information technology solutions. The request further stated that though Cotecna SA had given SMEL the right of ownership, Cotecna SA would provide, implement, and maintain a comprehensive information technology platform that includes its proprietary systems for classification and valuation known as ValueQuest and executive reporting system ERS, and that these solutions would ensure full integration with the systems in the customs chain at the time to further enhance the purpose of the exchange of information between the systems. The request was most irregular and perplexing. It was simply unfathomable that a company which commenced business on 14 February 2017 would have attained the experience and track record that was advertised in the request by Mr. Nti, dated 16 June 2017, for the nature of the proposed assignment. SMEL did not possess the experience and know-how to engage in revenue assurance services on behalf of the Republic. That much was clear. And this obvious incredulity, which must have been prevailing on the mind of Mr. Nti, triggered an internal conflict in his own request, as Mr. Nti then promptly referred to the financial and technological backing of the supposed investors of SMEL. And from then on, the 16 June 2017 letter no longer sounded as a request to sole source SMEL, but a pseudo request to sole source Cotecna SA, a supposed investor of SMEL. The copious reference by Mr. Nti to Cotecna SA and its notable technological acclaim was merely a ruse to divert attention from the glaring incapacity of SMEL in an attempt to directly influence the procurement process to obtain an unfair advantage for SMEL, notwithstanding its lack of experience and technological capability. Indeed, GRA failed to submit any evidence of a partnership or investment agreement between SMEL and Cotecna SA. The request merely attached the profiles of the two entities and a letter of intent from Cotecna SA. Further, nothing in Section 40 of the Public Procurement Act, which governs single source procurement, operated in favor of the attempt to sole source SMEL to engage in revenue assurance on behalf of the Republic. Therefore, it came as no surprise that by a letter dated 4 July 2017, PPA communicated its disapproval of the 16 June 2017 request by GRA. PPA was emphatic that SML had no proven experience in the business it sought to undertake. Further, PPA stated that the letter of intent by Cotecna SA did not establish any legally binding relationship between SMEL and Cotecna for the provision of the service, and that the company seeking to be considered for a contract must demonstrate an appreciable capacity and strength of its own, and possibly subcontract a portion to a qualified subcontractor or agent, which was absent in the case. Second application by GRA to PPA. Then followed a second and stranger and more perplexing request by Mr. Nti, still as Acting Commissioner General of GR, to PPA by a letter dated 1 August 2017, by which GRA applied for approval to sole source SMEL, and this time with Ghana Link. Cotecna was still in the picture somewhere. The request recited that SMEL had acquired a software for the classification, valuation, and risk management, that is CVRM platform, from Cotecna SA, and that SMEL had agreed to enter into a partnership with Ghana Link, a renowned local inspection and verification service provider, to provide the necessary support services for the implementation of the platform for GRA. A request further stated that in the partnership agreement, SMEL will provide a CVRM platform, while Ghana Link will provide external verification services using an appropriate platform, and that Ghana Link would also provide monitoring and supervision of customs valuation to ensure that the appropriate values were applied. The tone and tenor of the content of his own application should have portended pause and reflection on the part of Mr. Nti. In effect, he he was stating that SMEL did not possess the requisite experience and track record, and no appreciable capacity and strength of its own. Yet, he was actively urging SMEL on PPA for approval merely 6 weeks after the PPA disapproval on the same ground. This was not reasonable persistence. It was a deliberate attempt to manipulate the procurement process, introduce a redundant private actor, and distort the facts and create a backdoor entry for SMEL into Ghana's revenue assurance architecture. This time, PPA did not even bother to respond, as the circumstances surrounding SMEL's lack of capacity and track record had not changed from the time of the rejection of the first application. Even more troubling was the fact that these CVRMs were being carried out by customs officers through the National Single Window Platform. Excuse me. Mr. Inti did not relent. He repeated a second application to PPA. Seeing that PPA had not responded to the second GRA application 6 weeks after the request was transmitted, and the powerful behind-the-curtain chief promoter, patron, and sponsor of SMEL, Mr. Friata, was insistent on pushing the company into revenue assurance space through Mr. Inti. Mr. Inti repeated the second application by GRA to PPA for the sole sourcing of SMEL and Ghana Link by a letter dated 14 September 2017, which was almost word for word with the 1 August 2017 request. PPA certainly had had enough by this time, and it responded by a letter dated 29 September 2017 and rejected the second repeated GRA request. PPA forcefully stated that SMEL has still not shown any proven capacity in terms of experience and provision of similar assignments intended to be undertaken under the proposed joint venture agreement with Ghana Link. PPA also noted that the relationship between SMEL and Ghana Link did not provide the needed joint capacity to undertake the assignment, since SMEL would not be responsible for the bulk of the assignment by GRA's requirements. PPA signed off by stating that the reapplication by GRA did not address SMEL's lack of capacity in respect of the assignment. PPA did right in our estimation on all accounts on this matter up to this point. And with this, SMEL was blocked from the revenue assurance drive of GRA, or so it seemed. Now, SML. Following these setbacks, a simple but clever second plan was implemented to ensure that the company will certainly be awarded public procurement contracts for revenue assurance, come what may. On 22 November 2017, Strategic Mobilization Enhancement Limited, that was escaping me, SMEL, changed its name to Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, SML. Only the name changed. Everything else remained the same, including personnel and lack of expertise and capability. By a letter dated 30 November 2017, Mr. Edusei, the timber merchant, informed GRA of the name change while reserving the binding and full effect of all prior transactions. 7 months after the name change, GRA and MOF commenced the unlawful award to SML of a string of specialized revenue assurance public procurement contracts running into late 2023 in respect of transaction audits and external price verification, downstream petroleum, upstream petroleum, and the mineral sector. Contract for transaction audit services. After the name change from SMEL to SML, the public official promoters, sponsors, and patrons of the company were actively looking for an opportunity to reintroduce the re-christened company back into their design of awarding its public procurement contracts for revenue assurance, notwithstanding its lack of experience and capacity. The opportunity presented itself in the most unusual way through the enforced wresting of a public procurement contract from a company named West Blue Ghana Limited, through official accretional duress and browbeating. West Blue was incorporated in Ghana on 3 July 2012. It commenced business on 6 July 2012. Its core mandate, as stated in its object, is to facilitate trade reform and modernization programs with a particular focus on ICT implementation and management consultancy. By a contract dated 4 August 2015, the Government of Ghana, acting through GRA and MOF, contracted West Blue for the provision of National Single Window Integrated Risk Management, NSWIRM, which entailed the delivery, installation, and maintenance of the project to enable GRA undertake core classification, valuation, and risk management functions of the destination inspection companies which were exiting the sector by 1 September 2015. Through this contract, West Blue became central to Ghana's trade facilitation and customs automation reforms until the contract's termination at the end of 2018, after which it became involved in legal disputes over outstanding payments and retained equipment. Members of the media, unbeknownst to West Blue, the public official promoters, sponsors, and patrons of SML were eyeing its contract and devising means to dislodge it from the revenue assurance space and hand it over to SML. And by a letter dated 21 September 2017, authored by a company named Ports and Customs World Ghana Limited and addressed to the Minister of Finance, the public official promoters, sponsors, and patrons of SML saw an opening, and they promptly took it. By the 21 September 2017 letter, Ports and Customs World Ghana Limited informed MOF that it was to purchase and take over shares in West Blue, and that it was committed to renegotiating the terms of the West Blue contract dated 4 August 2015 with a more competitive price and improved technology. Citing value for money audit by Crown Agents Ghana Limited on the West Blue contract, which recommended the option of renegotiation of the contract to give GOG better value for money, MOF responded to Ports and Customs World Ghana Limited with deadly effect. By a letter dated 25 January 2018, MOF stated that it would terminate the West Blue contract on 31 December 2018. However, before the indicated termination, it was going to reduce its contract price. How a cited recommended option of a renegotiation of the contract was drastically elevated to termination of the contract can only be explained by one hypothesis: that the public official promoters, sponsors, and patrons of SML were setting the tone for the unlawful substitution of West Blue with SML without the required statutory prior approvals, and also that the reduction of the contract price payable to West Blue was not a cost-saving measure in the least, but a design with the sole purpose of withering it down, stifling it, and handing its contract over to SML. The public official promoters, sponsors, and patrons of SML knew they could not simply replace West Blue with SML before the indicated termination date of 31 December 2018 of the West Blue contract because of contractual obligations. And more pressing was the reckoning that SML's involvement would trigger the requirement of mandatory prior statutory approvals. Indeed, the public official promoters, sponsors, and patrons of SML dared not return to PPA at this time with a request for approval of SML's involvement, since the only thing that had changed about the company since the 29 September 2017 rejection by PPA was just the company's name. Therefore, these public actors of SML decided to place SML on the lap of West Blue and did in fact force SML on West Blue as its supposed subcontractor on the West Blue contract without the mandatory prior statutory approvals. Thus, the public official promoters, sponsors, and patrons of SML commenced participation in a series of outright criminal conduct by knowingly disregarding and breaching criminal prohibitions backed by a sense of impunity, as they view themselves as all too powerful. First, by a contract dated 1 June 2018, entitled Transaction Audit Services Agreement, and with the parties as GRA, West Blue, and SML, the company, which was rightfully characterized by PPA as having no proven capacity in terms of experience and provision of similar assignments in the sector, was introduced as a supposed subcontractor of West Blue. The recitals of the contract stated that SML desired to perform and West Blue desired to have SML perform transaction audit services for and on behalf of West Blue in respect of the latter's contract for the implementation of the National Single Window Project, and that GRA had agreed to pay for the services of SML. The 1 June 2018 agreement was certainly not a result of West Blue's initiative, and its conduct after the execution of the contract showed that it did not welcome SML as its supposed contractor. Indeed, it was openly opposed to SML acting as its supposed subcontractor. This was not a case of one private entity subcontracting another private entity to carry out specialized services for it in respect of a public procurement contract. This was a forced peel away of West Blue's mandate under the 4 August 2015 contract and an unlawful donation of the cutout mandate to SML by the public official promoters, sponsors, and patrons of SML. Under the 1 June 2018 agreement, West Blue was not the client of SML. GRA was the client of SML, and it had the obligation to pay SML. SML's invoices for payment were to be submitted not through West Blue, but directly to GRA. The only contractual obligation placed on GRA was that it should pay SML's fees directly to SML. West Blue had no compensation obligation to SML, its supposed subcontractor. Indeed, to all practical and legal purposes, SML was not performing any services for West Blue. SML's purported services were directly for GRA and not indirectly through West Blue. The specific contractual involvement of GRA in this at once clever and not so clever arrangement rendered it a sole source public procurement contract which required prior PPA approval. However, PPA's prior approval was neither sought for nor obtained for this contract. This unlawfulness was perpetrated with the full knowledge and involvement of the Minister of Finance. The duration of the 1 June 2018 agreement was tied with the termination date of West Blue's mother contracts of CCVRs generated and issued at the pre-arrival processing phase of the implementation of the National Single Window Project. Upon completion of the audit and the statement of its findings, SML was required to then forward the transaction audit reports together with all relevant attachments to the Customs Post-Clearance Audit (PCA) officer through data exchange protocols agreed with West Blue. The Customs PCA officer was then required to review the transaction audit reports and either accept or reject them. In fairness, it did sound like a contractor and subcontractor relationship on paper, under which the subcontractor was expected to apply skill, expertise, and tools. However, the reality was starkly different. SML did not provide any such skill, expertise, and tools under the contract. It merely sat on the skill, expertise, and tools of West Blue in a pretend posturing sham of delivering transaction audit services for the Republic. It became painfully clear a little over a month after the signing of the 1 June 2018 contract that SML had no skill, expertise, and tools of its own, and that West Blue had been forced into an unwanted marriage, which required it to shoulder the assumed primary obligations of SML. It was as if West Blue was rather the subcontractor for SML, as it was now being required to work for SML. By mid-July 2018, the tenuous and artificial relationship between West Blue and SML was falling apart, and by November 2018, the enforced partnership had collapsed, evidenced by a series of letters and emails exchanged between the two entities. SML, on its part, was perpetually vexed by West Blue's apparent stance of ignoring the former's repeated requests for information. West Blue, on the other hand, was registering its consternation at the forced marriage by supplying little or no information to SML in a silent protest of a demonstration that SML's participation was needless and downright odious, and that it had no skill, expertise, and tools of its own to function.
Special prosecutor. Owura kisi ejaben Eshen sama orka Mawu bosini na nu Olba be ma de bisi. Na sumu na nkofo dire bone da no do wan ma owre honorable kan ofurata wegu anu nkofo hu na mpanyo no bia. Na embe ninti emi papa me bobo idina obugbo ni na da kire mo yambi ni sha me kese su do bokata ya anepe yobakan se wogwado no wa krado do bokata mi ya krado papa na so yambi ninti e becha kakaka becha kakaka mu biale nya na chafa. But before that, I am call oye the Ubakataya Abakansa and the Peno Duno. Ebushama Monfa oye congratulations. It's in qua Monfama oye Yanamami oye Antifosi. Antifosi no kwani oye bia we sink today. Onfa hu bebia na kontu odene boko onfa hu bebia ne na abrabo odene bodu na mada tanga odene num ne techama kasa ne de onje ka ntimfante kasa de mami na ebusua wanje kra na ne papa ekwapimi nti ejanum na akere hemba wo oye ekwapim nti ba menya do na mfa oye itsirinkwa na mmo ne ye mfa ma oye antifosi na maami indei ekwapim ekropon ekropon ikronin ente enda nejiri baye na efia sachre na efia sachre na efia sachre nti antifosi yemotirinkwa pa na dey na yesanso ya kade sesere ama fancy confederation mankandam fancy confederation ama eyije abasha hina akomum yehu de so no daire hina rekobe hina no weje no wolhwe mpemfuru hu mbodrebo nti we pejao duwe fi oye bebi ewo na odo aba oye nananum oduesi oye apakanum oduesi sesegode da nana yede wase antifosi nti na yefo antifosi bio yefo antifosi bio nti nana yede wase ebusia krosa sesere ne so abotegwa na ansa ne bokole ubaka atenu mfa another congratulations mfa maye nankasa ine papa ankasam ankasam no so ose ye onfa bebi amoko dem yen fantin kotin di mesesem tachirama ankasam hwe ne business activist ori yorofa ha orokwa ha no motirmbo ahuru bi oro gbo bia no fantin kasa ne di onsesa kra enti ene ankasam wo oye ekunfi ekunfi enakwa na kronu baba ndey ankesam so wa chene hin wo oye ekunfi ntankesam yenyim de mo ti biara wo du sapken mala ana wo du tesese gonu dada wudi na asesa ndey ankesam so nidin obasesa baje obaye nana jedom ejiri kwanan nana jedom ejiri kwanan otodo esan nana onkwado nana emotirinkwa enti ewushafo yamfa etirinkwa na emmo na ye yamfa ma enumpemfo a wata henechi wo dwumeda ho biala yedi yedahumase eti yembe no moyenti yenko de obakate ya ne pe abakansa na ikititenyi papa movement efa musa na Friday Umar bin Abdallah woman na pori yin wechira han nye woman na politicians no ba wo batena se na wa bon komo kama dama da hwe oman Ghana no puntu na ne kanko na anepei sa yebetim komodo boka tia bakansa na busua odi na mom owu akise gebe na nsam no odutu gwa no sa hwebo so waba bem na tochere da musika VRA eno onye won biara KGM pianara won ya gudum nya ni no ofa back door ni na bia ni okọ procurement ni na anyi okọ procurement na ebuso ebedin kobo no membe ni sha anepe me fa daily graphic en fa shase membe ni sha daily graphic oman pen John Dramani Mahama okupe France na onye France oman pen na wo cheche meja ore kare Ghana no in France wo oye deep bond wo hwa o de wo hwe na wudi hudwuma ono na daily graphic odi da mfayin no odi abotugwa no the evening mail oho ayo the dasi and the evening mail aba wa begwa do papa evening mail be no odi oye owura Canada akopra kwa Japan na o se unveil bold agriculture wo oye blueprint for northern Ghana nti owura Canada akopra kwa Japan we kubu ene oye agriculture blueprint no wo oye northern region eje sama nti minority ena what to go chem there majority MPC no kwani absenteeism ena okwa ha adecho okwa efa womba oya parliament ena minority fo wodin sam wodi abotugwa no police fo achi mbebun baya anan na odunu feyin oda abotugwa wo oye esamankase chieftaincy dispute no occurred wona okidi yamran saman police fo achewon na ehwe ho nanyima alakoba instead even more ono ma odebayin ebusa business analyst ode owekuse jabe nfeyin oda aboto na osi SML wono contracting needless or needless no illegal nti ono no sam na ne pay ye bokakra ya dema wono nti dem SML woni contracting na sabota feche onfokwem wana onfo procurement ko tenza na kire asama abam ngofre diska na minority na warbo oye majority fu nechi sentran de woko parliament a bidum mba nti bisa sam na nye ya na onyu bisa se na nye ya na onyu nti no so moda botugwan oba pe John Dramani Mahama na onye oye Macron na was strength oye Ghana and France woni inkita wudi wo oye asunu Palace Peace Forum na oman pe John Dramani Mahama onye Macron wudi nkomo fe no the informer do bakata no obegwado no ono osi baumia na wa cham oil delegate with unique qualities international oho 2025 Farmers Day in Limbo no so oho wo de bakata the informer SML Nigeria deal no a huge rip off nti owo kuseja ben na asama odi abotugwan nti odi kuseja ben na onye oye owura keno forata no fanyin na oda abotu enyimwo mfanyin oye fe papa na military no we charge oye chief of staff wo oye wono nkobobo ho chief of staff no boy se bakaya ana ebusua amne yensada yempa ne tirko Coastal Television soja yi bi okro oye bema camp drugstore and pharmacy no okota no amno osumai na osumai ya edu no okon yen na osunum company so ni na oye eduma kol but osumai de won kono nkoto edumren na wokra na edu na no ohwe ochro man nyon no munya na women different company obeya omunu akren abado mfoni scam ebusua me yes sure there enwo video na e bia ehun ni yin osas there when on odi no mayin the papa movement tata story so no chief of staff no boy ya Messi Ghana ha je tumi kakra wo nti na ono na principal nsensuru ma sesially the obakatai the informer or the abotugwai medase mbo medase pa nti soja yi no okwa pharmacy wona drugstore wona or kede edu na open nyon wo de man nti won fo niska won fa man ewura ba ogina ho oje ni baby or put won kakao na slam so ko epanyai tere onu tumu kakra wo nti wada just look at this then chilling phone there or video echi manu ata manu anya so mu pam tate ma na police phone say so mu da bubuni na police phone obuni bi oh yes soja yo chief of staff no boya na nzama bi wo na se ye ditum kakra yenya edi hyeyin sema asuma da won kwotade yes na ade crowd there yet oye but other pharmacy fo no nzama bi wo wo chechire mu pa osande eduko no your company CP wo a wo ye edu pharmaceutical companies no obia paracetamol yo wa pharmacy no ho otum ka chero ebi nyo ma pedi bi but different type ni na edwuma ko no ye kades a man like you na say mesiafo we ye ya akotwe leather da ejirebe se ho no wa eyeda ma na ta wo meyi na ye how na me de military fo we hwenu mu the police fo watch abente a na we go so jefo monyi mase senche ye kan enchenche of civilian it's civilian where the madam soldier fo obata tempo ko no start it's civilian no where the madam soldier yimu and because of ose mufti on she soldier attendant no feel obi anyim CCTV camera no check ose mufti nti ofi de mo no obi ale hun na ya me na adoma CCTV camera or capture ma in the insa esuruma do bokate the informer nti the informer the no fenyin or the aborto ne ndie ya oye wo oye pharmacy we na no or the mo mfenyin no or the aborto oye do bokate ne na megemi di pefere o marga na mra wa ha iya da no so wan pa na tala iyi mo yo obokwa ke mo chanda mo kra mo yo ne obokwa ke mo chere ho kra nti ebusia madoboka tai the informer no so odi gbogbo adeyin ebusia me ko dele wo oye majority fo won echi wo oye absenteeism ho the daily banner manoso oda bayen omampen John Dramani Mahama fo yin kweja otodo ebie no so wo oye RT request no so oda botugwa daily banner no mu na wo nyesi oya France abrochi won asetena another ehida wo kra no num nsam ne bi na the worker no odi abotugwa no the Ghanaian publisher also galamsey extortion why episode minority no would demand oya dismissal of oya Brim Center MC minority what's your opinion Brim Abanka chipen na wa pamanan sentra wa paman se na minyimade mimna motibia no asam baba Brim South MC emade poti na only ya se wa pamanan on to galamsey olu to galamsey na la ya kan wa sama ye wie kanu olu to galamsey na nkwafuku huni ya wakakan na onam de kululu nti sisia wa apaman nti minority would demand pa would demand nti ebusia da do baka ten so odi botugwan the Ghanaian new publisher. Ebusia oya Owa Okuboy says oda sanche no mejeru hwinichi basa. Owa Okuboy oya light wave sagan say bakaya wa mo contract no the member no former government no ye minister for health na wa mo contract na contract no owura oye minister essentially oye kobeminta account na account reche de contract no no muni oye hu nti se wo kan wasama nyiro Okubo mpo bambi nti adan Okubo so abe press conference wa cheche nidem na owura kobeminta account other show essentially wa bande Okubo we expose oye Akandos lies until the worker the Ghanaian publisher on Soma or the Abba Abotoin. It was your daily guide. My mom, your daily guide, though. Now, nothing to me, Sable. Daily guide about so they arrested for assaulting or pharmacist and customer. The man, so you know, Sabbath affair, need Jim Dino yen. Mamma Kandam, need Jim Dino yen. When Green needs him there, Jinabi war what ne juma ye no onye juma wo do to the man no no so odwen no hweka na nche say onye na be gina be no nche police fo nche so daily guide ma other ben NDC super majority MPs absent minority fo wantase no so the work at ma other ben over ose osibe na no so we trouble oye 800 million bill 800 million bill adai 800 million bill we osesibe sika no so what the aton no kind of forata 5 orders face OSP charges and the special prosecutor and the press conference no ye no echi wa bem kufa that wo nyimpenu na waka oye owura kan forata wo na Ghana sika no wa ye nyafu we discuss rough nto agbo nyimpenu munidin